Project 4, Patrick Anson, the 5th Earl of Lichfield, by Arthur Clarke. He was a dandy, and was someone who, if he saw an opportunity to make life beautiful, felt he had a duty to do so. Christie's photography expert Philippe Gagné captured the essence of Patrick Lichfield in this simple statement. The British photographer Patrick Lichfield, whose name was Thomas Patrick John Anson, the 5th Earl of Lichfield, was born April 2nd, 1939, in Staffordshire, England. He attended the Sandhurst Military Academy, which is the English version of West Point. He was then to later serve in the Royal Army. He was also a first cousin, once removed, to Queen Elizabeth. He is the son of the Viscount Anson and Princess Anne of Denmark. The family is from the Midlands aristocracy. One of his ancestors was Admiral Anson, who circumnavigated the globe in the early 1800s. He is the creator of the well-known Unipart calendar, and he died in 2005 at the age of 66. Patrick Lichfield began taking photographs at the age of 8, and he never really stopped. He was educated at Harrow and Sandhurst, and he subsequently served as a regular officer in the Grenadier Guards. He left the military in 1962 to become a photographer's trainee, which his blue blood family did not find to be impressive, and they thought this was very much akin to going into a trade. They were to suspend his allowance at that time. He was very much prominent in the era known as the swinging 60s, part of the London jet set. Although he hailed from blue blood and had access to subjects that most photographers of his day could only have dreamed of. For example, he was the official photographer for the wedding of Prince and Princess of Wales in 1981 and the Queen's 2000 Jubilee. One of his most iconic images, though, was a nude of the singer Marsha Hunt in the 1960s, which was very groundbreaking at the time. He also published a book later in life called Not the Whole Truth. Perhaps less known was Lichfield's nudes. They were an important part of his work that showed a different side to his character and his passion, but were not nearly as famous as his portraiture. He was a photographer for more than 40 years, during which he worked for the fashion magazine Vogue and was awarded fellowships in the British Institute of Professional Photographers and the Royal Photographic Society. Here we see one of Lichfield's famous prints. This is entitled Vintage France from 1988, a silver print. Lichfield positioned the model on the table and presented her as the centerpiece for his photograph. Although strewn around, we see the wine bottles and other items suggest that a gathering had or is taking place, and that the model is part of the entourage, or possibly an appetizer to accompany the wine. There's an element of class here. The fine wine, the crystal goblets. This is not a gathering of the working class, but rather is a gathering of connoisseurs, both of the wine and the vintage beauty presented. The clothing suggests not something off the rack, but rather a fine velour garment, classical in its appearance. The woman is suggestive, looking directly into the camera. Her dress is hiked up to expose her garters and her panties. And here, we see a picture of the Duke of Windsor tying a bow tie. Very much a capture of the moment. Lichfield was very well known for capturing his best work in the last moment. But he fully understood the need to recce, as he called it, his locations beforehand. He always looked for everything and had the photograph already laid out in his mind's eye and just waited for all the elements to come together for him. Here we see another one of his famous nudes. This one, in 1989, was taken in Moscow and shows a woman climbing the escalator. Looks as though maybe her dress has become caught in the escalator itself and has fallen or been torn from her, but she continues to move forward. Great depth of field with fantastic lighting and visual effect. This photograph really talks more to the picture itself rather than the nude in the center, although she is the centerpiece of the photo. Here we see the most famous picture, Marsha Hunt, which was October of 1968. This iconic photo from the late 60s broke several boundaries. It shows not only a naked black woman for a magazine, which was groundbreaking, but the fact that an English peer actually took the photograph says a lot about the class distinction and that Litchfield broke many of these notions, both professionally and personally. Photos like this allowed him to gain acceptance by his photographic peers, who for the most part were blue-collar, but he also enjoyed the respect of the nobility as much as with the common man. Litchfield was very much at ease shooting the royalty and had unique access. He's known to capture his subjects very seemingly unaware. His personality and his background were able to draw in anyone and everyone. From the book Elizabeth R., A Photographic Celebration of 40 Years, on page 79, the story of this photograph talks to the fact that the Queen was laughing at Lord Litchfield as he was inducted into the Order of the Shellbacks, which is a order for crossing the equator by sea, full of ceremony and pomp, and a lot of just general good fun. Litchfield had a waterproof camera and was able to make this happy snap, as he called it, when he came up for the third time from his dunkings. He later stated that he is a fan of the disposable cameras that are now available, mainly because he didn't have to go through all the hassle of waterproofing a camera. This photograph is in our textbook, and as we see here, is also for sale. This particular photo is of a limited edition digital fiber print. It was priced at about £3,000. In this, we reflect on debate number 2, uniqueness versus multiplicity. So this particular photograph, in its printing, was only printed 50 times and was signed. Therefore, it became unique and scarce, which allowed the price to go up. So this very celebrated photo captures the joy of marriage and the message sex, drugs, and rock and roll. The sexuality is Bianca Jagger, and then, of course, the phallic champagne bottle, and, of course, the Rolling Stones' youthful frontman, Mick Jagger. Here again, we see Litchfield's ability to work under pressure. In this particular pose, Litchfield was granted 5 minutes with the Queen, and in receding light, he was able to capture this particular snap of the Queen and the Duke. Only allowed 5 minutes due to the Queen's schedule, he was still able to make the shot. Some of his famous scenes, this one being from the royal wedding of Princess Diana and Prince Charles. In this particular time, Litchfield used a referee's whistle to control the wedding party. As evidenced here, you can see that he was able to get everyone to smile and laugh. He's also famous for his love of beauty and his tasteful nudes. In this example of his talent, he's using color to the full advantage. And in so, he gives the model a ghost-like, apparitional appearance. Here we see Lady Thatcher at 80. Again, his subjects always commented on his civility and his down-to-earth approach to portraiture. This picture from 1950 of Marlon Brando. He captured the man, and his very complexity becomes black and white, just like the photo. Again, the royal wedding in 1981. Here we find Princess Margaret peering over the hedge at a wedding. So again, we see that his access to the royalty, he is able to capture them in unposed moments and in their natural being. From nobility to rock royalty, here we find Mick Jagger in June of 1968. And then the icons of industry. This is Paul and Talitha Getty in Marrakesh, Morocco, in January of 1969. The Getty family, of course, founders of the Getty Museum. Paul Getty, one of the grandsons of the famous J.P. This very casual moment is the Duke and Duchess of Windsor in their country home outside of Paris from 1967. Prince Charles and Lady Diana. Famous Marissa Burnson. And then again, Cecil Beaton, a photographer taking a photo of a photographer and his work. The beautiful Joan Collins. This is very fun, as the entire room was silver, her dress was silver, and Patrick Litchfield was to comment, is there enough silver in this room or in the photo? So, in summary, Litchfield was one of the groups of photographers in the 60s that included Terry O'Neill, David Belliot, and Terence Donovan. These were mostly blue-collar and did not have the access that he had due to his birthright. However, they did respect him for his work. And he was able to present a very common appearance, but even so, he embraced the fact that he did have all that access. Again, very early embraced digital photography, which showed that he was not afraid of technology. He was an advocate. His great ability to put his subjects at ease and understood they were 50% of the photograph. Well known as a playboy, but he was very serious about his craft. He felt that he had to overcome his title as a peer in order to be taken seriously.